And just like clockwork, after the session is done, you have Rick here from 28mm RPG. An interesting video came up from Shadow and Sun about killer dungeon masters. This kind of relates to it, and it kind of relates to the session too. Um, Players' fears of getting themselves killed in a situation. Um, and if you were to pull up one of Shauner's favorite movies, Die Hard, um, I mean, if Bruce Willis ended up not taking risks, not doing the cool things, think about that. What if he turned himself into an NPC throughout that entire movie and just ran away from everything? This kind of, it makes you think. Um, what is the game really about? Is it about a bunch of players playing characters that don't want to run the risk of something bad happening? Or is it about players playing a character or characters that are willing to do the risks, to do the cool things that may happen? Now, keep in mind, you have to have a game master that is, you know, won't hold back, but is cool enough to go ahead and create opportunities for the player if they get into a situation to redeem themselves in some sort of a way. That could be, averting death somehow, or possibly coming out of the situation with something cool happening to them. I mean, even if you like lose an arm or something like that, it could be replaced. Like if you're in a science fiction, it'd be replaced with a bionic limb or something like that. That would be cool. Um, cybernetics are a thing. Not so much in, I guess, fantasy, but you could make a golem arm for somebody. That could be an interesting thing. That could work almost the same way as a kind of a gimmicky kind of cybernetic replacement for a fantasy game. So something like that could happen as well. But that's the thing. You have to have a game master that's willing to go ahead and make those cool things happen, even with the misfortune of some player roles. And the game master has to kind of keep in consideration, yeah, there's going to be some unfortunate rolls from time to time. And, it's not the player's fault that it's a bad roll. So you can't really punish the player for that, but you got to make something happen that occurs to the player's character that even though it was a mishap, there might be something cool that comes out of it and something that they could use as a story later on, in their history. This happened and boom, I lost part of my body, and but I got it replaced later on with this cool gadget, whatever, you know. There's many opportunities to for the game master to um, not make those nasty mishaps turn too nasty. But sometimes you're playing a game and a mishap ends the character's life. So, um, but sometimes it's got to be a cool death. It's one of those things that If you're gonna die, you may as well go out in a blaze of glory, kind of idea, and do that thing. And that is a cool thing. However, the game master's got to make it sound epic and cool, and enhance it to to make it uh, so that the player doesn't feel like he was ripped off. I put in all these hours playing this game with this one character, all to die from a splinter in my fingernail. That would suck. You know, where they could go out in a blaze of glory, uh, like in any kind of cool action movie. That would be cool. And maybe even you can flavor it so that there's kind of a question. Oh, we did not recover his body at the end of that. Ooh, could return. Could return as a once again as a player character that lost their memory after the explosion, and ended up recovering in a ditch and becoming a bum, a homeless person. This hero becomes a homeless person, and then suddenly one day sees an agent that he worked with and realizes, wait a second, I recognize that person from my past. Memories are coming back, and stuff like that happens. Or the player character, which was thought to be dead, comes back only to be reconditioned by the enemy as a cyborg, kind of thing where they've been brainwashed, and you got pretty much the Bucky situation in the Avengers, or Captain America, and this supposed bad guy is it's actually our old friend. He's been done up, in all this crazy armor and stuff, and we're thinking it's a totally different person, and then all of a sudden the big reveal: take off the helmet. It's George, the guy we lost a year ago as a player character, or something weird like that. But that's the thing, you have to have a game master that's willing to go ahead and do or think of those cool kinds of things that could possibly happen. So it's always a question, does this player character come back later on? Who knows. Or it could be just dead. Nobody really knows. Not even as me as a game, I don't even know. It's just something that spurs on an idea. Oh, let's it's kind of like soap operas. Soap operas will always bring back their bad guys over and over again, even though they've been killed or gone missing and all that stuff. That they always return, or they end up uh, being a character that you see on the soap, a new one that is actually Stefano in disguise. He's got his face altered and everything. So how many times has Stefano? I don't watch soap operas, but Dwayne, my guitar buddy, had his wife is into soap operas, and I used to come into the walk into the house, and we'd be drinking coffee, and she'd be watching these crazy soap operas while me and Dwayne were talking about stuff. And it's kind of funny seeing seeing soap operas. Yeah, I mean, I take you got to take a little bit of interesting things from each kind of genre out there. Soap operas have some pretty good things in there going on that you can really uh, you know scrape out to use for your own um, role playing game if you really wanted to. So um, so this comes down to a thing where now your players, if your players aren't used to what your methods are in a game, they may shrink back and decide, no, this is too dangerous. We can't do this. I'm gonna die. Uh, but you're but you're playing. You're ending up playing your character as yourself. That if you are scared of losing life and limb, heroes usually aren't thinking that way. They're the ones that go ahead and they see a bus running out of control and heading towards the sidewalk, and there's a little kid there. They're going to go ahead and dive in front of that bus and knock that kid out of the way and take the hit themselves, kind of idea. That's what happens. And something like that is a good, I mean, it's a good death, not a heroic death. Well, it is a heroic death, but it's not one of those where, yeah, I've gone out in blaze of glory. It's more like I sacrificed in order to save an NPC. And that's part of the idea is heroes are willing to sacrifice themselves in certain ways to be the hero. So, I mean, Traveler, it's kind of, these guys are like mercenaries, or they could be, soldiers in a war, or they could be whatever, Um, there's different aspects. They don't all have to be good guys, and they don't always have to be heroes, but um, it is cool to have players to take on those heroic roles too. They want to do the right thing, even though it may end up being the wrong thing later on. But that's the cool twist of fate sometimes, and that's the way it goes. But at least they are being proactive, and that's the thing. Proactive characters, characters that want to, if they're going to be D&D character types, and you got the fighter and all that stuff, and they're going to go and investigate things in order to gain treasure and cool stuff for themselves and to uncover mysteries. So that means not being scared of, potentially dying. I mean, it's dangerous work that they're doing, and they're willing to risk life and limb in order to go into these weird, secret places of the unknown, and try to make a living out of that in a fantasy world sort of way. And you know, sometimes you end up with players that want to go ahead and take that back seat, more or less, and not run that risk. It all depends, Um, all depends on the player. So if the player you know, isn't being proactive in, deciding to run away from a lot of things, it's it kind of puts the game into an aspect where, are these players actually heroes, or are they just mercenaries that are just out for their own? And it kind of develops how you kind of look at them or judge them later on. As a game master, you're kind of like, you know, as you're playing, you're kind of getting the feel of each player, how they play their character, and you know, kind of seeing whether or not, hey, is this one a risk taker, or is this one going to be, sitting in the back, not really participating, or is this one, going to be only proactive in certain aspects of the game and stuff like that. It's stuff players have to think about too. Is hey, am I being a hero, or am I going to be the person that backs up the heroic character, or am I the heroic character. It's all up to them. Maybe they're all heroes. Maybe they're all that Ocean's 11, or whatever group, that they all have those cool things that they can do, and they go out and do those cool things. Sometimes characters forget with their roles too, and then they get themselves into situations where they're like, oh crap, I really can't do this thing, but they try, and stuff happens. It's all part of the game. It's more fun that the mishap happens than nothing happened at all. So risk and see what occurs. Maybe, I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys have any input on such things? Put it down below in the comments. But like I say, yeah, check out Shadow and Son's latest part 12 of the Why We Play the Game, Killer Dungeon Masters. And I mean, I'll put together games which involve risk and everything, but there's going to be a lot of cool stuff, and I have to throw that in order for that cool stuff to possibly happen. So in that way, the risk, the story that you can have at the end of that session is going to be a worthy one to tell, because of all the cool stuff you encountered and all the cool things that you could do. But then you think about, hey, maybe I could have done this in that situation. You never know. You don't know unless you try. And that's missed opportunities that you've possibly didn't realize until it was too late. So anyways, just some interesting food for thought about those kinds of situations, and with player characters and how they play them, and how game masters have to kind of figure out, put in stuff for those cool things to happen, hopefully, if they're willing to take them, hopefully. Anyways, that's it. That's everything that I can think of in that kind of a situation. So probably more out there. You never know. There's always more. Just voice your opinions down below if you feel like it. Take care, and sub if you want to. Just do it. 50% of you watching my videos are not sub. Just sub, damn it. Just do it.